Hello and welcome to episode 55 of the Critical Twits Gaming Podcast, where today we'll be sharing our best ideas for Christmas games to play with your non-gaming friends and family. Hello and welcome back to the Critical Twits Gaming Podcast. I'm Brian Ennis.
I'm Joe Lewin.
And I'm Jamie Myland.
And today we're going to be sharing all our best ideas for games you can play with your non-gaming friends and family. Or if somehow, not being a gamer, you have stumbled upon this podcast, been pointed in this direction by maybe someone who is a bit of a gamer or is more into their games than you, we'll give you some good ideas for maybe some things that will be good for you to start your board gaming collection. So it's Christmas, a time of eating far too much, spending far too much, and other Christmas things. What else is Christmas about?
Arguing over Monopoly.
Arguing over Monopoly. Yeah, spending time with people you maybe wouldn't normally spend time with, and
Family,
trying to find ways to pass the time together.
Yes.
So that battered copy of Monopoly comes out of the cupboard, or that game of Scrabble with no E's because the dog ate them one year.
Or maybe Cluedo if you're feeling, extra risque.
Yes, bit of murder to spice up Christmas. Did you know? Is it Christmas Day or Boxing Day is the day you're statistically most likely to be murdered by your spouse?
I don't know.
One or the other.
I'm going to say Boxing Day.
Yeah, I think.
And I do think, just as a quick safety note, we should point out you shouldn't feed your dog E's at Christmas. It's generally a bad idea.
Yeah. Or when you get some very confused, maybe some teenagers looking for a dizzying Christmas high.
A little Ziploc bag full of Scrabble E's.
Yeah.
It's a business venture there, Brian.
The only reason I got into board gaming in the last couple of years is that I went to a shop and asked for some ket and got a very different thing to what I asked for. Yes, drug jokes. It's a good way to start.
It makes it more family friendly.
A lot of the games that are played a lot at Christmas that sort of come out and are played are not the best games, I feel. Games like Monopoly, Cluedo, Scrabble. What else? Am I?
Well, actually, while we were looking at this, I stumbled doing a bit of research and looked for sort of best board games for families.
Okay.
On Google, and noticed that you've got Amazon, you've got Parents.com, The Telegraph, GoodToKnow.co.uk. Now, looking loads and loads of websites, looking through all of them, it's all your typical Hasbro shit.
Mm-hmm.
I had to really struggle to find anything that I would consider a good board game.
Have you got some examples?
I'm looking through my list, just making sure there's no Hasbro shit on there.
I don't get me wrong, there's a couple of okay ones out there, but generally, it's all things like Cluedo, Monopoly. Weirdly enough, I've just clicked on Tech Advisor, and the first thing to pop up is Space Hulk.
Game of Life.
Okay, Tech Advisor is perfectly fine because they've suggested Settlers of Catan, Dominion, and Scotland Yard.
Okay.
I'm not sure if Space Hulk is a good game to play with your family.
If you have a very small family and there's only two of you,
yes, you could have
then
a Terminator each.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah. So there's this. Board games have moved on from these more sort of traditional games.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of new mechanics, lots of new different ways of playing, lots of advances in gaming that are still accessible to your average person.
Although I do have to say that last Christmas I did try. Last couple of Christmases I've tried playing a few different games with my family. And last Christmas my sister did state, we're playing one of your board games, are we? Why can't we play a proper board game?
And then you murdered her.
I think, to be fair, I think her idea of a proper board game, she really liked the game Payday, which is almost like Monopoly Light. Things like that.
Okay. Was Monopoly too hardcore?
Well, everybody knows Monopoly can be a bit hardcore.
It can be a bit table flippy, can't it?
Yeah.
And nobody plays it the same way, and nobody actually plays it like it is in the rule book.
No.
Because I learnt this when I took in for Christmas into my place of work where there are many young people, and I took in and grabbed some copies of Monopoly and other board games for them to play rather than doing an actual lesson because it was Christmas in tutorial. And they eagerly set up a game of Monopoly and then spent half an hour arguing over what the actual rules were before they even started.
Well, that actually, I mean, I was going to talk about this later, but that links quite nicely to something I was going to mention.
I'm sorry, I've preempted you.
Yeah, but that's fine. I mean, we could talk about it briefly now, and then back in 2005, there was a blogger called Johnny Nexus.
I know Johnny Nexus. Yes.
He was writing for criticalmiss.com at the time, and he posted an article which eventually became the Campaign for Real Monopoly. Basically highlighting the fact that for years everybody's been playing Monopoly wrong. And that while most Monopoly games go on forever and descend into arguments, if you actually play by the actual written rules, it can be a lot more faster experience and a lot more enjoyable experience. The highlighted rule itself is to do with buying properties. So, normally you sort of as you're moving around the boards, you'll land on, I don't know, Mayfair or something, and you can't afford to buy it. So then turn passes on to the next player. But the actual rule states that whenever you land on an unowned property, you may buy that property from the bank at its printed price. You receive the title deed card showing ownership and place it face up in front of you. But if you do not wish to buy that property, the banker sells it at auction to the highest bidder.
Yes.
That's how I've always played it.
The buyer pays the bank the amount of the bid in cash and receives the title deed card for the property. Any player, including the one who declined the option to buy it at the printed price, may bid. Bidding may start at any price. Now, some people maybe do follow that, but I would say the majority of people who play it don't.
I've never actually played the game that way.
Yeah.
And I've played quite a bit Monopoly.
That's been standard for me. Although I do, to be honest, me being me, I read the rules and absorb them quickly.
You are the
force the people around you to play.
I generally find the best way to enjoy a game is by playing the rules written in the fucking book.
Exactly, but that's the thing is the way that Johnny points out in his blog is that most people have never read the rules to Monopoly because most people have been taught by other people who think they know how to play.
I can see why that rule has been taken out. Because it makes it a very different game.
It does.
Everything gets bought very, very quickly.
Yep.
It amplifies the snowball effect of Monopoly because someone can, if they've got more money, they can just outbid everyone.
But then that's kind of the point. And
but that is the point. Yes, it is called Monopoly, not happy, nice socialism time. So
exactly. And it also really increases the player interaction. So
yes,
it can actually make it a lot better game. So I was going to say, we're getting together over Christmas to play a bunch of games. So I think a challenge should be we should play Monopoly once using the proper rules and then report back on what we think.
Yeah, Joe will win because obviously he's practiced.
Also, the fool that's been reading the rules all these years.
Also, that bullshit rule of when you land on free parking, you get the money that was paid for fines.
The taxes. That's not in there.
That's not a rule. That extends the game ridiculously.
Yes.
So, that's another made-up rule.
That's one I don't mind because I'm lucky and end up getting it most.
Yeah, but that's the thing is it extends.
That's not in the rules, Joe.
Not in the rules, and it extends the actual gameplay
to my benefit.
Because
it does.
Yeah,
it does.
Because the idea is that people are supposed to go bankrupt, and player elimination is not great in games, but it does make the game a lot faster.
Just having a look. None of the games I've picked have player elimination.
Oh, that's very good.
Do you guys have any Christmas gaming memories or Christmas gaming traditions that you do? or have experienced? Because that's how memories work.
We generally try and play a game over Christmas at some point. Normally, we are restricted to things like Monopoly, and it's gotten to the point over the years where that's no longer an option because I always win and other people won't play with me anymore.
That happens a lot to you, Joe. Other games as well.
It does. So currently, no, but we are almost starting one this year. Because obviously, I've got my daughter who is very nearly 10. She is at the age now where she can actually start participating and playing games with us. So we are going to start playing a few more Christmas. Although it'll be a weird one because both my mum's quite keen on playing, I'm quite keen on playing, Rox will play. My sister and my dad might not be so keen, so there might be bullying involved. And
have loads of fun really close to them and then not let them join in. That's the spirit of Christmas.
Sounds like a good option to me, actually.
Yeah. We're having fun and you're watching Wallace and Gromit again. Oh, well done.
That does tend to happen, although when we've played games in the past, it tends to be a small group of us will go off into the kitchen to play on the kitchen table and everyone else will stay watching the TV. But although saying that, we do have one traditional game in the family to play at Christmas time, which has been, I guess, played for many years before I was even born as a family game, which was the card game Newmarket. I don't know if you've ever heard of Newmarket.
No.
But essentially it's it's using traditional playing cards, and you have cards in the centre of the table that you're kind of bidding on. You're putting money onto them in order to kind of score those cards. When they get played, you then take the money from those cards. So it's kind of like bidding on racehorses, but it's cards. So we always play that usually very late on Christmas Day, before everybody sort of collapses in a drunken stupor. But yeah, so that's our sort of family game. But outside of that, no, we don't really play many board games. I mean, when I was kids, we did try and play Monopoly and Game of Life and things like that, but not much else.
We always used to play Scrabble in my house. So that was something that we did. We played quite a lot of. And for years, I was convinced that my father was cheating because he knew all of the little 2-letter words that are sort of vital for putting onto triple word scores and putting at little junctions so that you can score things twice and using up all your tiles at the end. And there's lots and lots of them. And recently, well, I say recently, in the last few years, I actually played quite a bit of Scrabble using the Scrabble app. And one of the things the Scrabble app has is a list of all the 2-letter words because they are so important. But he always won because he'd always put down chi, which is QI,
yes,
and put it in some awkward ass place and get 1,000,000 points.
Yeah, absolutely. I still actually play a lot of Words with Friends, and chi is a very good play. But saying that, one thing on the official Scrabble app, never allowed you to play the word Zen, which I always thought was interesting.
Really?
Whereas Words with Friends does let you play Zen.
Did it make you angry?
It did. Yeah, it's quite ironic.
I'm good at puns, not good at keeping the conversation going. Just an ambush dead end. Yeah, I do hear. My parents used to tell me a story of when they were quite a young couple, of playing cards on Christmas Day for chocolate coins.
Oh.
And the game becoming so heated that they fell out and didn't talk to each other for the rest of the day.
That sounds like games at Christmas, yeah.
Yes. Because one of them stole all the chocolate coins and the other one had no chocolate.
Oh.
So there's no gambling involved in any. I wish you could twist some of the games I've got, though.
I think when we play Monopoly, we should invest in a few quid's worth of chocolate coins and play for sweets.
Yes, that
awesome.
will also liven things up.
Yeah.
I heard a very strange Christmas tradition from a colleague of mine. who a couple who play Escape from Colditz every year on Christmas.
Oh, right.
And they take turns. So one year, one of them will be the Germans, and one of them will be the people trying to escape. And then the next year, they'll swap over. So it's quite a cemented tradition, apparently. Did any of you include Escape from Colditz as one of your Christmas games?
I only recently learned about that game, and that was from the event we went to last week.
Oh, at Dragon Meet, where
Dragon
they had
Meet.
the new edition.
Yeah. So
real Nazi-looking memorabilia
exactly,
inside.
yeah. So because I looked at the game at the time to find out, like, oh, is that a new thing? And no, it's been around for a long time. But yeah, that's the first I've heard of it.
I first played Escape from Colditz wrong when I was about 8 at primary school.
Mm-hmm.
At no point while I was, stuffing prisoners back into their cells and beating them with billy clubs did I think this would be good for Christmas. But who knows? Who knows? It might be the best Christmas game. So that's our wild card.
Okay. So yeah,
is that what we're measuring everything against?
Yes. Is it more or less fun than Monopoly stroke Escape from Colditz? Yeah. So what I thought we've each done a top 5, with a couple in reserve in case someone else mentions their particular game, and we can bring some other ones in. So we should get sort of 10 to 15 games between us that will be good for introducing other people to proper board gaming. Does that make me sound like a twat?
A little bit, but
no more than usual, Brian.
Yeah, no.
Well, that's fine.
we know what you mean, though. Yeah, like you say, I mean, there's some traditional board games that have been around for many years. I mean, Monopoly's been around for like 90 odd years now, and obviously game development and mechanics have come a long way since then. So yes, I wouldn't say they're proper board games, just modern board games.
So just briefly, what criteria did you guys use to choose your games? I'm intrigued as to how you decided which games to include on this list and which ones to pass over, because we've all played a lot of games.
I just mostly went for games that I felt had a good social element, because you don't really want that kind of solo play when you're sitting around the table at Christmas. You want some type of like back and forth.
So kind of the same. I didn't include anything 2-player either. They're all 4 groups. Like Jamie said, I instantly ruled out Portal because you want to actually communicate with other people. Yeah. And I've kind of got 2 categories that I've been going through when I was thinking about this. Obviously, as the member of the podcast with a child, I was looking at things that can be played with children.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And then things that would be good for a sort of family setting, like you say, to introduce people to board games that might not be used to them, but are possibly not as kid-friendly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. I'm just looking at mine because I didn't consider children. I don't care about children because there are none in my immediate family. Ever since I grew up, that has been a fact. So looking at it, there are a couple though that I think would work with children as well. So it's be interesting. I was looking for a good mix of different types of game.
Yeah,
and the social aspect was quite important, and also maybe introducing some different mechanics. So some different ways of playing, different things that might be new to people that they'll find really interesting.
I'm just wondering, you'd have to say what right now, but do any of the games on your list include the traditional move your pawn around the board, like around the outside?
My backup number 6 has a move your pawn around the board mechanic.
Okay.
I have things where you move around the board.
Mm-hmm.
Only one of them is around the outside in that kind of way.
Okay. I was just wondering, because I mean that's obviously a staple of a lot of the traditional style games.
I've got some worker placement where you'll place some meeples on a board.
Ah, so the Euro style.
Yeah, and I've got one where you will have a pawn and move around.
Okay.
So that will probably come up. Shall I go first?
Sure.
Do you want to do one of yours? And we'll go through like that.
Yeah, sort of 1-1-1, and we'll go round in a circle. Okay, this game is has been tested at Christmas and passed the Christmas test, not with my own family, but anecdotally from a friend who played the game with me a couple of years ago at Christmas, and immediately went out and bought a copy and took it along to his family for Christmas. And that game is Settlers of Catan.
Mm-hmm.
Is that on anyone else's list?
Yes.
It was going to be an honourable mention.
Okay.
But it didn't make the list.
Didn't make the list. Interesting. So we could all talk with authority about Settlers of Catan, or Wood for Sheep, as I have nicknamed it in my head. Settlers of Catan, I like it because everyone gets to play for the whole game.
Yep.
So unlike Monopoly or Cluedo, if you guess and you're wrong, there is no player elimination.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important. Going, let's have a family sit together and play a game, and now you can't play for the next hour, piss off. Isn't really in the spirit of Christmas. Well, depending on what kind of Christmases you have. It's very sociable. You will be trading with people throughout the game. So there'll be lots and lots of talking. And I think the core mechanics of Settlers are fairly simple and easy to grasp.
I'd definitely say it's the type of game that you can pick up and actually learn around the table. Now, one thing I was going to say is that for most of the games, that if it's a game like Monopoly where people feel like they know how to play it.
Yeah.
The family can sit around the table and sort of just, let's recap a couple of the rules. But for most of the games on this type of list, they're going to be new to a lot of people. So I'd highly recommend that if you are introducing any of these games to a gaming group or to your family, is that you learn how to play them properly first, whether that's watching a YouTube video, having a thorough read through the rules and that type of thing, rather than sitting around the table and, for the first time opening it up and say, right, how do we play this then? Never goes down too well. But I think with Catan, it's one of the few you could actually learn as a group. It's quite straightforward.
Yes, yeah. I really like Settlers of Catan. Haven't played it for ages, actually. I last played a 3-player game with Colin and Aaron, who could not be with us today because they're dead. And we had quite an aggressive game of Settlers of Catan, with lots of shouting and insulting. But generally, it's quite a genteel game. And the theme of it, you are settlers on an island, and you've got to build up the biggest or the best community, is fairly easy to get hold of and sort of play through. It's not, you don't need to really memorize how anything works or anything like, because the game is fairly intuitive. The things you need to build in the game are what you would need in real life. You're not trying to use space plutonium to make weird things or anything like that. It's a fairly true to life theme, so that helps make it fairly easy to grasp. Anything to add, Joe?
No.
Just checking you're still alive, mate, to be honest.
Yeah. I agree.
I concur. Moving on.
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah. It was one of the first games, again, when we as a group started expanding into board games, because our gaming group started really as a tabletop role-playing group. Yeah. And we found that with people not being able to make it, jobs, work, life, we were having more and more sessions where there were not enough of us to really continue with the ongoing role-play campaign. And so board games became a great way to fill up that space and time and still socialise without having to find something else to do. Cool. Who wants to go second?
I can just mention, actually, okay, so Catan was going to be my kind of top choice for
a
family game, but
I have preempted you once more.
Yes, you have. But saying that, I'd say the best kind of alternative Monopoly game. So this isn't a game where you move around the board like Monopoly, but in the theme of Monopoly of being able to like buy things out and get money every turn and things like that is Power Grid. And I think Power Grid could make a very good family game as long as, like I say, you take the time to learn the rules first to be able to explain them to your family as you know as you.
I haven't played Power Grid before.
Okay.
I have looked at it many a time.
Well,
and It looks fairly intimidating, actually. It looks fairly heavy. There's a lot going on.
It does. The thing is, it's not. It's once you actually got your head around the basics of the rules, it's fairly straightforward. It does have several different phases. There's, I think, 4 or 5 phases through the game that you have to play through. But the core mechanics are fairly straightforward. So basically, in Power Grid, you're trying to take control of the power grid of a region, of a country. And by building power stations, so you have the little houses that look almost like the houses in Monopoly, that represent, the power stations that you own, and then you're building the kind of connections between the different power stations and cities to power those cities. As you go through, you need to be able to sort of acquire the raw materials that you need to power your power stations. So early on in the game, everybody will be having kind of coal and oil power stations. And generally polluting the atmosphere a lot, but have a very kind of accessible way of getting started. But as you go through the game, as more people start buying power stations, more advanced ones come up, such as being able to recycle garbage into power, or then later like uranium, and then finally the kind of end goal is the renewable power sources like wind farms and solar plants, where you don't actually have to acquire the raw materials to power them.
I'm sick of this liberal bias in board gaming.
And
so I couldn't say that with a straight face, but it's an audio medium, so I'll just make my sarcasm clear.
Yeah, and I just find there's a lot of player interaction. There's bidding, like the auctions every round to bid for the power stations you want, and yeah, it has a kind of a similar kind of idea to Monopoly, where you're trying to end up with the most money basically, but and it does have paper money in the traditional style, but it's got a lot more kind of drive to it than Monopoly does, and a lot more of kind of an end goal. So there is an end to the game. Yeah, I think it would be really good to sit around the table and play with a family, and it's one that I do hope to get out this year.
Sounds good. Sounds interesting. Joe, your first choice, please, sir.
Well, where to begin, really? I'm going to start off as a slight change of pace as something that is very kid-friendly.
Okay.
And
they are the future.
Well, sadly so. And it is something we have mentioned before.
Okay.
I actually really like, and I think it would go down really well at Christmas time, Ice Cool.
Oh, absolutely.
And we've talked it to death, and I don't think there's too much.
Well, for somebody who hasn't listened to our review or watched our review of
then
Ice
they
Cool,
should go and do that, shouldn't they?
Very briefly, what is it?
We'll pop a link down and we'll pop the review up in the top corner. But Joe, just give a very brief 30 seconds. What is it? Why is it good?
So you are playing a penguin that attends school. At this school, you are trying to get out of class and go and get yourself some fish. So there's up to 4 players. One of you will be playing a hall monitor, trying to stop the other penguins, and the others are trying to zoom around the board and take fish by going through certain doorways. Now, rather than it being a typical dice rolling game or anything else, it's what you would call a skill game, because you actually have to flick your penguins around the board. It's a lovely little game. It's very simple. The box itself turns into the playing board, so it's got walls around it, so you can flick your penguins and they're not just going to go flying off and get lost under a sofa or get eaten by a dog. And generally, it's a lot of fun. It's easy for kids to learn, and it is entertaining in its simplicity.
Awesome.
Yes, it has that tactility to it. Is that a word?
It's very tactile.
Yeah, it is very tactile. And it's we've played this game quite a bit, and your daughter has joined in when we've been playing, and really seemed to be enjoying herself.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm quite bad at reading people, but I assumed that she was having fun. She was laughing and smiling. That's what happens, right?
Yeah. Actually, earlier I said we're going to. When I said to her, "Oh no, I'm going to be doing this for a little bit," and talking to you guys. About games to play at Christmas, she went, "Oh, can we play that one again?"
Excellent.
Awesome.
So there we go. So a recommendation from an actual child.
Yes.
Awesome. Right. I suppose back round to me then. Ooh, I'm just trying to decide which one to pick. I've got something. They're all quite different in a way, I suppose. If you're looking for something that's going to take sort of an hour to an hour and a half, excuse me, and you want to avoid too much conflict, I think a good game to try, especially if you're trying to, maybe you've played some of the simpler games on this list and you're trying to push your family in towards something a little bit deeper than maybe some of the games that we talk about. I think that Lords of Waterdeep would make a very good game to play with friends and family at Christmas. Has anyone else included that on their list?
Yes, I have.
No.
Me and Jamie have just got the same top 5 without realising. Gone away and found the 5 games.
Yeah.
Although I didn't include Power Grid, so that doesn't. It's a worker placement game. It is themed around sort of Dungeons and Dragons and collecting rogues, wizards, clerics, etc., sending them off to complete quests. But the base mechanics of it are actually, again, fairly quick to grasp. You collect the different people, you send them off. You've got different places and locations to send your agents, and it has a little bit of a hidden role, which is always good. A little bit of spice, and there is a little bit of player interaction. You can play cards to affect each other, or you can go, I can see Jamie wants the rogue, so I'm going to go there and stop him. Don't know why I'm picking on you today, Jamie.
That's fine.
But it's fairly quick, it's fairly light, and we have played this game with a few people that we that wouldn't consider themselves sort of hardcore gamers, and they have had a great time playing it with us.
I would say definitely the biggest hurdle to the game is the theme, because a lot of people see Dungeons and Dragons on the box and are like, nope. While the theme is quite unapproachable for some people, I think the mechanics are something that anybody can just pick up and play.
Yes, yeah. The idea of placing someone down, they get a thing, and you get the thing, and then you can spend it on stuff is fairly straightforward. That is pretty much the basis of the game, isn't it?
Definitely.
There's not a lot else going on.
And again, for Christmas, you don't want a game that's going to take all night, and it does have a very definitive end, as you have your standard, is it 5 or 6 rounds?
Yes, I think this might be a good time just to crack out a cheeky anecdote. A couple of years ago, our gaming group assembled alongside some partners of said people within the gaming group to play some games at New Year's Eve, and we decided to try to play Spartacus: Blood and Sand.
Now, as I'm going to interject with a thing. We did decide that it was a show people had watched.
Yes,
so that might be a good link.
Yeah, definitely a link.
If not, gladiatorial combat with our group of friends and/or partners was something people could go, yeah, that could be quite fun.
Yeah, if you've not seen Spartacus, you're still seeing Gladiator.
Yeah, or you at least know what the theme is.
Yes, yeah. I mean, we did the Romans
people
every
stabbing
year.
each other.
In primary school, we just did Romans. It felt.
Yeah. So it, like, from a theme point of view, it didn't have that. Oh, it's got Dungeons and Dragons on it, so people won't play.
Yeah.
And we'd all played it and had a lot of fun with it.
Yes.
And then
about 7 hours later,
yeah,
the game was over, and several of the partners had naps. Had wandered off, had done other things, and we never played a game like that again with those people.
We've never played Spartacus since.
No, we haven't. Do you even know where it is, Joe?
It's on my shelf upstairs.
Oh, is it? It actually made it. It seemed to just kind of be passed around like some kind of.
It's upstairs.
For quite.
It might not be. Might have been burnt.
Yes. And good riddance. No, it's not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination, but it most definitely was not the right game at the for those more sort of casual gamers, and may have done more harm than good.
Potentially.
Yes.
Hence why we're having a list.
Yes. So, Jamie, your second choice.
Okay, well, my next choice is something that, again, if you don't want the conflict of, and the arguments that can come around with a competitive game, it's a cooperative game, and it's one that's been very, very, very popular in the board gaming scene in the last few years. So you probably won't be surprised to hear of it. But I did actually test it last Christmas with my family. The Christmas before last with my family, and they really enjoyed it, and ended up actually buying a copy of it from my brother-in-law, and that's Pandemic.
Excellent. Jamie, I've got that on my list as well.
We have the same list. So, yeah, Pandemic obviously is a cooperative game. So you're working together as a team. Each person in the team has a different role, and you're traveling around the world to eradicate a virus that is gradually spreading around the world and killing the population.
4 viruses.
Yes, 4 viruses. So I just find that Pandemic, again, it's got very nice, very easy to pick up game mechanics, and it's also got a theme that most people would relate to in some way. I mean, everyone's heard of the Zika virus and things like that, and everybody has kind of thought about what could happen. So it's not like Dungeons and Dragons or something like that. It's the type of game where you can all just work together to come to a resolution. Yeah. So the game itself it's got very nice art. It's very kind of approachable in its style.
Yeah, when you said Pandemic, I was going to make a joke about what could be more Christmassy than thousands of people dying of plague.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, it's a cooperative game, isn't it?
It is.
And I do know of families that don't like to play anything competitive when they gather to have fun, because maybe one member of the group takes it far more seriously than the others, or like Joe, always wins. Or someone doesn't like getting knocked out of a game, or feels like they're being picked on. And so it's one of those games where you're right, everyone can work together. So if you don't want any overt, any kind of conflict within your games, Pandemic is a very easy to grasp cooperative game.
Okay, so my next choice, I'm actually going to go back to a game I played as a child with my family. That we still have a copy of somewhere. It is still available in some places, even though the box has changed. It looks shit now. And the game itself was called Labyrinth. Nothing to do with the shitty film.
Okay.
Although if you look for it now, I believe it's called Ravensburger Labyrinth. It's called Labyrinth and it's by Ravensburger, but that's what it seems to come up as on things like Amazon. Now, this is a really simple game. Again, really good for kids. You have a 5x7 board with little square tiles on, and that makes your labyrinth. And you've got to run around the labyrinth and collect treasure. Now, you won't always be able to get where you want to. So once per turn, you slide a tile into place, and it shifts that entire column of the labyrinth along and pushes another tile out the other end to change up the pathways and block people off. And it's quite simple. There isn't that much in the way of rules. You get dealt out the things you're trying to find at the beginning of the game. But it's fairly quick. It doesn't take massive in-depth knowledge to play. And it's just quite entertaining.
Yeah, there is a Labyrinth the film tie-in board game that has come out which might be why it's come up as being Ravensburger Labyrinth rather than Labyrinth.
Possibly.
Although if you just type Labyrinth game into Google, you get nearly all of the top bit is actually the Ravensburger version.
Excellent. But yeah, it's something, like I said, something I played as a kid. I'll have to dig it out at some point so we can all play it.
So we've done 3, haven't we? Each.
Yes, although you stole half of mine.
Yes, good. So my 4th choice is a game that... Oh, excuse me. My 4th choice is a game that is semi sort of cooperative. You still have separate points, but you are trying to give clues to people and you're kind of working together. It's a bit of a classic now, and that game is Dixit. Have I read your mind again, Jamie?
No, I thought you had from the description, but no.
Oh, okay.
It is on my list, though.
Yes, I thought it would be on your list, Joe. I'd have was on your list. We're big Dixit fans. Maybe we don't play it as often as we used to.
I've got an expansion I've not opened.
I've got 2 expansions that I've not opened.
We should probably play some fucking Dixit.
We should.
My brain just wanted to go, I've got 3. Just to see if we can have some kind of bidding war on expansions. I don't have any expansions of Dixit, but I would love to play some Dixit this Christmas when we have our gaming day. It is such an easy game to explain. It's such an easy game to play, but it is absolutely great fun. The game involves playing a card face down from a deck of these beautifully illustrated cards, full of sort of detail and quirks and sort of interesting, almost kind of kids illustrations. The detailed illustrations from, say, an old copy of Alice in Wonderland or something like that. The expansions mix it up and they change some of the art styles and give different ideas and different themes, but just the basic core game involves you playing one of these cards down and giving a clue. Then the other players will look at the cards they've got and they will try to play a card that could fit that clue as well. And the idea is that as the person saying the clue, you want some of them to guess, but not all of them. If you make it too obvious, then you will get no points because you've made it far too obvious. If you can get some of them to guess, then you will get maximum points and they will get points for guessing that it was yours. But if you're one of the other players, if you're one of the people that have just received the clue, you want to pick something, you want to try and trick everyone else around the table for voting for your card as well. And then you'll get extra points if they do. Such a simple idea. It's very visual. It probably would work quite well with kids. I don't know if you thought that, Joe.
I actually deliberately put it on the older people's list.
Okay, why is that?
Well,
because you know more about children than I do. I've got some theoretical knowledge.
Some book learning, yeah?
Yeah, some book learning about like what they are, and I can spot them in a crowd, but I don't actually know much about them.
Well, I guess it just depends on who you're playing with as a group, because like when we've played it, you get a lot of words thrown out there like consumerism and tragedy and this kind of thing, and because you are trying to be vague, I think that can be quite a hard concept for kids to grasp.
Yeah.
Because they might just go, dragon.
Yeah.
And if no one else has got a card with a dragon on it, or
everyone will guess. Yeah.
Because it's much more about concepts than it is about the image itself.
It is.
So you want to be able to try and make, you say a concept that can fit your image, because you know there might be other things that can fit that concept as well. And I think that idea will be a lot of children might struggle with.
Yeah, and also obviously you got to think about the experience of kids compared to adults and them playing together. Whereas adults maybe making references to things that kids just wouldn't get, and vice versa, maybe.
Well, this is it. I think if you had a group of children playing it, you'd be fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure it'd work.
Yeah, I suppose if you are playing with children, you maybe alter the way that you play slightly. I don't know. Because it's a game that's based around pitching something to your audience. Because you need them to, some of them at least, to guess. I suppose if you were like a hardcore competitive gamer and you just gave clues that the child couldn't understand to make sure they couldn't vote for you, that would make you a horrible person. But don't know.
This is why I don't play Dixit with children.
The recommended age is 8 for the game. Just
okay.
Look.
Okay.
Yeah. So Dixit was my choice. Back to you, Jamie.
Okay. Yeah, so a kind of a traditional Christmas game that many people may have played.
Drinking gin and crying.
Yeah, that usually is the end result, but is charades or charades, depending where you're coming from.
Yes.
And one game that we all played this year that I think would make an excellent Christmas game takes the charades concept and turns it into a board game, and that's Concept.
That's on my list.
Yes.
Get out my head.
So, for those that don't know, Concept is a board game where you have a board that has lots of little icons or pictures on that could represent lots of different things, and then you work normally. You take a card that has some different options on for concepts. That could be things like, your card may have for an easy option something like squirrel or angel. But it also has like medium and harder options as well. So a medium option might say something like Bilbo Baggins, whereas a hard option would say something like hungry like the wolf or remembrance of things past. Yeah, so more difficult concepts than squirrel. But the idea is that you're trying to convey this concept to the rest of the group and to try to get somebody to actually guess what your concept is. And you do that by linking these different icons together using tiny little plastic coloured cubes and also these like nice icons like question marks and exclamation marks. They can use to tie these concepts together. So for example, on the board you might have, if you're looking for the concept of a squirrel, quite simply, you might just have the animal or wildlife type icon, which has like an elephant on it and a fish and things like that and a squid. You might link that concept to an icon that maybe has a tree on it. Yeah, so something an animal that lives in the trees. And then you could take it further and introduce new concepts to try to get your idea across more effectively.
Yeah, you might pick things like there's things for size and that kind of thing as well.
You could pick grey and red.
Yes, grey and red, yeah, because you can pick the two different colours. And yeah, absolutely.
We'd be shit hot at Concept.
We would, especially for squirrels.
Apart from that time we played it and we weren't.
Yes.
We were good at the easy ones, it was just the hard ones. But that's one of the cool things about Concept is that when you're playing charades or whatever, you're basically, most people pick a movie or a book or something like that, where in Concept some of the harder things are really quite obscure, but in a way that actually makes it more fun. And yeah, I just think it's something that could be a good laugh with your family.
Yeah, I think that easy, medium, hard difficulty as well allows you to scale it if there are younger players in the group and that kind of thing.
Well, to be honest, just don't do the hard ones because they're fucking impossible.
But maybe save the hard ones for the end or something so that you could have, like I say, they can get a bit silly, but they can be.
I think we should do a let's play just of the hard ones for everyone out there.
We should, totally. Let's do that.
You could see me burst into tears. The inability to communicate.
So yes, I love Concept. I've actually put it on my Christmas wish list, so hopefully I might get it on Christmas Day, and then we can all play it.
Oh, you've preempted my final question, Jamie.
Oh, okay.
My final question is, what do we want for Christmas?
Well, I think this is a podcast of preempting at the moment.
Yes, yeah. Cool, yeah. Concept, very good game. Very much enjoyed it, and I think it does take that kind of that Pictionary stroke. Charades concept and that idea, that style of game, and kind of update it, give it a new twist, make it slightly different. Joe,
cool. How many more goes do I get? 2, don't I? This one and one more.
Yeah, if we're running, I'm running out. So
okay, because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things left.
I've got one more.
So yeah, if we do this as a final one, then maybe some on. Or you can just talk for 20 minutes.
Yeah,
you've got to edit it. So.
That's true. Cool. So we've mentioned quite a few games that are fairly long. You're talking your hour to 2 hours kind of thing, and sometimes that's not really what people want. One of the games that I think is really good for kids, nice little quick game, get them thinking about this kind of thing. You don't need a lot of space. Is the Love Letter series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now, we've all played Love Letter. Well, actually, I've never played the original Love Letter. I've played the Munchkin version. I've played the Adventure Time version. There is now a Batman version, I believe.
There are thousands of different versions of
yes.
Each more themed than the last.
Yes, some of them introduce a couple of little rules, some don't. but they're not necessary. But it's a very simple game. You are trying to get your letter to the princess by having the person closest to them at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And you play a bunch of rounds, and you get a point if you win each round. Rounds take about 5 minutes. Again,
maybe less, a couple minutes.
Yeah, potentially.
You can play a full game of it in 20 minutes once you know what you're doing.
But I've played this
Quite
with
easily.
like 7, 8-year-olds easily, and they've picked it up within a round or two. So actually, I think again, really, really good as an introduction for kids, because you can get all these nice themes like Adventure Time, etc. It works nicely because you can find something they're interested in to get their interest.
Yeah, I just doing a little bit of Google foo. I just literally typed the word "love letter age range" into Google, and now I'm probably on a government list. Probably not the best idea to have done.
What did you find?
Let me just go back because I found the right thing. I found a Wikipedia definition of a love letter. Nothing that's telling me that I'm on a list, so that's quite nice. Everything's fairly innocuous as a response, including love letter itself from Board Game Geek. 10 plus they recommend.
Okay.
Yeah, I would quite happily introduce it to someone of that age. It's fairly easy to teach, and you can be up and playing very, very quickly. And it is good fun.
It is.
Yes. There's not really much more to add to that. We've got
good recommendation.
A nice explanation. Yeah, good. Well done. Now, we did say 5. I do have 2 left, but one of them I'm not certain about. I wanted to mention it and see what we thought. So I'll go for my final game that is definitely one I would introduce to people at Christmas. And it's a fairly recent game. It's one of these ones you can tell when a game has that crossover appeal because they start to make the different versions of the game. A lot of the games we've mentioned, you can get different versions of. They've got not just expansions, but different ways of playing, slightly different mechanics, different theming, etc. And the game I'm thinking of here is Codenames. Was that on anyone else's list?
No.
Nope.
No, really? Okay. Codenames, very, very quickly, is like Minesweeper with words. You'll have...
Yes, it is.
You'll have 5x5 grid of words. Pretty much random. There are lots and lots of different things, from sort of hot dog to a unicorn, with all sorts of different things in between. 2 players will have a little grid in front of them. One will be blue team, one will be red team, and they will have some of those words they'll be trying to guide the other players to. Some of those words they will be trying to avoid, and if you pick the completely the wrong word, one of them will be an instant loss. So we'll try to give clues, and the game is basically about trying to make links between the words that you have that are the ones you want your team to guess, while trying to avoid accidentally leading them to the other teams or to the assassin card. So you might say, for instance, potatoes 3, trying to indicate to your team that 3 of the cards in front of them are linked to the idea of potatoes in some way. It's fairly simple, fairly easy to do. You will give clues and immediately have someone pick something completely wrong because you didn't realize. You will immediately be baffling the people opposite you, and they'll be going, what on earth is this madman talking about? That none of these clues relate to potatoes. They're obviously high on something. So you can have quite a good laugh with it. They've just released a picture version of the game where you have pictures instead of words, and they've released an adult version of the game with air quotes naughty words as well, which I've played that version. I don't think it changed the game that much. Maybe we just gave naughty clues, I don't know. But Codenames is a big favorite of ours. Talked about it a year ago on our Skullduggery special, so I'll pop a link to that for people to go and have a a deeper understanding of the game. Why didn't it appear on anyone else's lists? I'm curious.
Personally, because I haven't yet actually played it, but I do.
Oh, Jamie!
I know.
Oh, sad for you. We'll play it on our board game day. We'll add it to the list.
Yes, it's a game that I'm aware of and have seen a few people play it like online, but I've not actually had a go myself. So, yeah, can't actually recommend it until.
I suppose it depends on the size because code names you need at least
4 people.
4
as a minimum. It works. I think it works best with about 6.
Yeah, that's the way I would look at it. And so having 6 people all agreeing to play a board game isn't something that's very likely in my house.
Okay, get a bigger house.
So it didn't make it for that. It was a players thing.
I think actually that's not a bad thing because if you think about it, it might be a good idea to have a few options available on Christmas. And to have like a 4-player game, to only have 4-player games, if somebody else turns up, then suddenly, you've got a problem. So having a couple that include more is probably a good idea.
Yeah, the Resistance code names, Dixit will all spread to more people.
Yep.
Waterdeep 2.
If you've got the expansion, it goes to 6 people, doesn't it?
Yeah. So there's a range there as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got massive family gatherings, Resistance is amazing because you can have up to 9.
10.
10. Oh yeah, of course.
10 players, yeah.
But another game that's very similar that would also fit in, depending on whether or not the theme fits, are the Vampire and the Werewolf games, the one-night games.
I don't like Werewolf, therefore I didn't include it. But I can see it's... Oh, God, I just fell over. Well, only like slightly. Yeah, I don't like Werewolf, so I didn't include it, but I know it's popular with other people.
I really like the game. I think it's really easy to introduce to a big group of people because there's an accompanying app that's free you can get now that does all of the hard bit for you. So as long as you can listen, which is a key requirement, really, you're absolutely fine. So... I think it works really nicely and would work for good groups.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, cool. So Jamie, your final choice.
Okay, yeah. So I think my final choice is probably going to be Scoville.
Okay.
Yeah. So Scoville was a game that was kickstarted a couple of years ago, and it's all about pepper farming. And again, I think it's one that plays very well. It's quite a nice game, and it plays very well in a group. It's competitive, but it's not too cutthroat. But yeah, the idea is that you're trying to breed peppers on a field by crossbreeding different coloured, like almost like meeples, but pepper shaped, while moving your farmers around between the tiles.
The pieces are very cool. I do like the pieces.
They are, and it's got some nice player interaction. You've got some bidding, again auction style, where you're trying to bid for different types of peppers. You've got the cook-off where you're trying to bake different types of chili, and it's a cute game and it's a lot of fun. And again, I think it works if you again up to I think 4 players. It works very well.
Yeah, do you think... I'm just thinking, because we played this back in the summer. Do you think it would be an easy game to teach? Because I'd be kind of thinking maybe that's a little bit tricky.
I think, again, as long as you know what the game is before you sit down at the table, don't try to learn it at the table. I think it could be quite quick to teach. As if you get the board set up, you explain the main key 3 areas and then go for it. I think it should be fairly straightforward.
Cool. Joe, then, you've got quite a few games left because you over-prepared.
I did.
And also seem to have a different angle than maybe me and Jamie. We've overlapped a lot. Is there anything that you would say would be your number 1? And then we'll discuss the remaining ones maybe briefly.
Out of the ones I have left, yes.
Yes.
Interestingly enough, of my remaining 3 games, I own one of them because I picked it up very recently. But the one I would take as my top pick that I might actually steal off you, Brian, is Terror in Meeple City.
Oh yes, yeah. I played that game last night. Our role-play group seemed to be suffering from some form of plague, last night. So instead, we played some board games, and that was one that was just dug out because it's a good laugh. It's really quick and easy to play. Yeah, so I do like that game.
Cool. I can't comment because I've still not played it.
Oh, Jamie! Oh, sad times. It involves playing a monster and flicking trucks around the board, blowing buildings over, stomping on things, picking on your friends, and eating people. It's great.
Yeah, it's something that's very, very easy, very fun, very physical, and again, it's something I think kids can get on board with quite easily.
Yeah, the physicality of it actually, it would make it very, very good for kids because they've not got to sit and concentrate on rules and abstract things. They can pick up the thing and put it on their monster's head and flick it at their friend, stroke cousin, mother, whoever it is they're flicking it at. The dog, who might eat it. Sorry, I kind of preempted your explanation there.
It's fine. It got discussed.
Yes. Well, I waffled about it for 2 minutes.
That's good enough.
Cool.
Do you want me to say the last two things I would recommend as well?
Say one. I've got one left that I'm on the fence over. Okay. And then you can say your last one.
So, again, a very simple game that I think people would enjoy would be Rhino Hero.
Oh, yeah,
definitely.
Picked it up this weekend at Dragon Meat for like £6. Me and Brian played it at a board game cafe, and it is lots of fun. Again, easy for kids. It's like Jenga in a way.
Jenga with rhinos, yeah.
It's Jenga crossed with building a tower of cards.
Yes.
Again, good, easy fun that's easy to pack away and everything. That would be, again, very suitable for kids. And it's cheap if you want to invest in something that isn't going to break the bank.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I would say if you are looking for that game, it does come into two names. It's called Rhino Hero and Super Rhino, depending on which region you're in. So if you're looking for it.
If you go on to Bizarrely, I've just looked up. So I thought £6 was quite cheap.
No, it's the normal price.
But it's roughly about that. Yeah, it's £6.60 online. I just found it for, and it has a picture of the Rhino Hero box, but it is called Super Rhino, so that's quite unusual. We enjoyed playing that, and it was very, very easy to pick up. A skill-based game, again, another physical one. So the kind of thing that pretty much anyone can play. And it does have that element of picking a really awkward card and playing it in an awkward way and going, ha ha, got ya.
I have to say, you've inspired me. I'm quite tempted to grab that now and play that at Christmas with my family.
Yeah, I just added it to my...
Because it's a great game. It's a lot of fun.
Cool. Now, going in a slightly different direction, there is one game that I have played to absolute death with my friends who wouldn't consider themselves gamers, or especially not board gamers. It's the one game that I can be guaranteed to, if there's people over, because you need a certain number of people, it's the one game that I can be guaranteed that my partner will actually play. And it's a game that I came home to find her playing with some of her friends last month, which was very unexpected. That game is Cards Against Humanity. It is an adult-only game. It is not suitable for all the family.
Yeah, it can actually be weird playing it with your family as well, to be fair.
Yes, I've heard all sorts of tales of people trying to play this game with their family. It has some very offensive cards. It has some very sexual cards. It is actually the base idea of using cards that you draw from a very big pile to fill in the blanks in phrases. So it might say, blank, kid tested, mum approved. And then you've got to try and pick a card that you think will make the person who's running that round laugh. That's the idea. Whoever makes them laugh the most, or they think maybe had the most interesting, or whatever, they can judge it on their own criteria. They get a point for that round, and you go round and you just play until you're bored. Generally, I tend to find the game fizzles out, unless you're playing to a set number of points. But most people will keep playing it. It's incredibly simple to play. It's actually based on a game called Apples to Apples. Which might be a better thing to actually play, especially at Christmas. I have to admit that I'm slightly bored of Cards Against Humanity now, because a lot of the cards will work on shock value, and once you've seen them a couple times, it's not shocking anymore. I'm also slightly aware that there are some of the cards people may find offensive.
Think as a very good judge of whether or not you and your family would get on with this game. If you find Frankie Boyle particularly entertaining and everyone in your family laughs at him all the time, go and buy it. It'll probably go down well.
Yeah, Frankie Boyle, Jimmy Carr, Jim Jeffries, that kind of style of comedian will be fine. But I know a lot of people have issues with it as being very unpolitically correct, very offensive if you choose to play it in that way. And the cards point you towards playing it that way without a shadow of a doubt.
It does. Although if you do have a very strong moral centre, just keep in mind that the actual team behind Cards Against Humanity do a lot of good for charity. I know they're actively involved with World Builders, which is Pat Rothfuss's charity, and things like that. So, yeah.
They do, but that may not be enough to excuse them from being terrible humans. So that was out there. That was one that I what's the game that everyone will play? And that is the game that everyone will play.
Once.
Yes, yeah. So just something to consider. Joe, your final choice then?
Yes, my final choice is a game that Jamie introduced us to. I think
one where you take all your clothes off and hide in the shower.
No, that was James. But and that is Netrunner. No, it's not Netrunner.
Yes, you want to get your mum stim hacking on Christmas Day.
No, my final choice or my final suggestion would be Takanoko.
Yeah, definitely.
Again, nice kid-friendly theme. It's easy to play. It's got nice pieces involved.
Lovely little figures.
Yeah, it's not particularly complicated, but there's enough depth to keep everybody interested. Jamie, do you want to go through what it is?
Oh, blimey, okay.
You know it far better than I do.
So, Takanoko, it's basically you're developing a garden for a panda. So I believe it's based on an actual historical event.
It's a panda appeasement simulator.
That's the best thing ever.
Hang on 1 second. So, so basically the idea is that you're trying to develop a garden for a panda to be able to keep this panda sort of fed. And this based on actual kind of semi-historical actions where in the Japanese imperial court, the Chinese emperor offered a giant panda as a symbol of peace to the Japanese emperor. So then the Japanese emperor had to keep this panda happy and have a bamboo garden. So the idea is that in the game, you are building this garden and moving around a gardener to help grow bamboo. And then you're also moving around a panda to try to eat the bamboo. And it's like I say, very cute little sort of pieces that you're moving around the board. The tiles themselves are very much like Catan tiles. They're the sort of hex style, oversized tiles. Each one a different colour, so you've got like pink, yellow and green. And each one grows a different type of bamboo. And you have sort of goals. You have these little cards that have either panda, gardener or land sort of tiles that suggest the type of tiles that you should be either placing and building. So making a pattern with a certain types of tiles, or which types of bamboo you want the panda to eat. So maybe like 3 stacks of pink bamboo. So you're trying to secretly move your pieces around the board to complete your goals before the other players. And yeah, I just think it's a lot of fun, and it's again quite simple mechanics.
Excellent. So, if we were to pick one of the games that we recommended to be the one we say go out and get this one if you can only get one, which one would it be? Jamie, which one do you think would you go for?
Probably Catan.
First. Catan?
Yeah,
that's a good choice. Joe?
It's quite a difficult thing. I'm going to avoid all the games I put towards adults.
Okay.
I think you guys have got that covered.
Yes.
If you were going to go and pick one, I'm going to cheat and say 2.
Okay.
If you want something small and cheap, go and buy a version of Love Letter.
Yep.
If you want something a bit more involved, I would probably suggest Terror in Maple Sea.
Cool. And I would say I think the game that you'll probably get the most mileage out of and to have the broadest appeal for me would be Codenames. That would be the one I would recommend you go and grab first, just simply based on how often it actually kind of hits the table. It seems to have quite a lot of appeal, at least amongst the people we play with, and I'd be very comfortable introducing the idea to pretty much anyone.
Awesome.
Excellent. Right. What games do you guys want for Christmas? When you wake up bleary-eyed on Christmas Day, you check under the Christmas tree. What games do you guys want to find lurking there?
Well, like I said already, I've added Concept to my wish list.
Yep.
And actually, I've just added Super Rhino to it rather than just buying it. So, yeah, Super Rhino or Rhino Hero. Definitely at the moment. I've got, like I said to you before, a bit of a pile of shame at the moment. I've got a lot of unplayed board games that I need to start playing. So rather than getting new ones, I'm going to drag out a lot of the ones I haven't yet played.
Would you like to find like a bottle of time?
That'd be lovely. Yeah, Time Turner or something.
Yeah, so you want a time turner so you can play all of the games.
That'd be perfect.
Cool, Joe. What are you looking forward to maybe picking up at Christmas term?
To be honest, I'm not really sure. There are games that I really enjoy that I don't own, that I would love a copy of. Things like Waterdeep.
Yeah.
It's just very, very, very good. But you own them all, Brian. I don't need any more games.
No, that's a good point. Well, if something was to happen to me, if I was to have a Christmas accident,
he would come to
my
house,
bleak, hasn't it?
Just go to Jamie's, yeah. No, if I was going to have one game that I want that I would like a copy of for myself, it would probably be Lords of Waterdeep.
Cool. The one game I'm hoping I can find a game that I can play with my other half, something that we can play together of an evening, and it's been a kind of ongoing, not a struggle as such, but to find something that she really gets into, I found quite difficult. One of the games that's been on my wish list for a while that has sort of returned to mind for something that maybe we could play as a couple is Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. Shut Up and Sit Down did a great review of it quite a while back now. And the idea of sort of trying to solve a mystery together might be something. It's a very different kind of feel to any of the other games I've got. So I might try and sort of slip that onto my Christmas list in the hope that she'll buy it and I can force her to play it with me.
Yeah, that is on my wish list as well, but it's never in stock, and when it is, it's ridiculously expensive.
Yes, yeah, it sort of comes and goes in availability, and you're right, it can be pricey. But you know, what's Christmas for if not to treat yourself? Excellent. So thank you very much for listening. The thing I would like most for Christmas would be that if you people listening out there, if you enjoyed this, if you could share it, that would make my Christmas dreams come true.
Aww.
So, excuse me.
And I'll just say that, you know, we will actually sometime this Christmas sit down, actually play Monopoly the proper way and see if it's actually an okay game.
Yes, that will be an interesting experiment.
I'll go read the rules in anticipation.
Excellent.
Anticipatory rule reading.
Oh, Joe's Christmas is made.
Yes, yeah, that's a fun afternoon.
Yes.
That has been episode 54 of the Critical Twits Gaming Podcast. I've been Brian Ennis.
I've been Joe Lewin.
And I've been Jamie Myland.
We hope that we've given you some good ideas for sharing your love of board games with your nearest and dearest, or if you are someone else's nearest and dearest and you're not particularly into to board games yet, giving you some ideas of things that might be able to ease you into the board gaming hobby. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
But Father Christmas is real, Joe.
Yes, Brian.